if they're not talking, so we don't get a lot of background noise. And then it's *6, or you can unmute yourself, raise your hand when you would like to talk. Thank you.
Marjorie, what do you mean raise your hand you want to talk? I'm on the phone.
No, if you're on the computer, then you can raise your hand.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, you don't, if you're just on the phone, you're okay.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still waiting on some commissioners? Looks like we are.
I don't see Gail.
Yeah, let me see who's here. I got to get my, yeah, I only see Bob.
Hello.
Oh, there he is. I know that guy. Yeah, did you just log on?
I've been here for about a minute.
Okay, I was just looking at the list. My screen didn't have you on it.
No problem.
All right, so we're waiting on Gail and Stephanie?
Correct.
Okay.
Not
And
good.
Mr. Chair, this is Brandon Swanson. Stephanie
Brandon.
may be running a little bit late. She had a personal appointment to take care of, but she will be joining the meeting at some point. So you may not have her for the first start of this meeting.
Okay, I see Commissioner
Yep.
Lehman just logged on. So I guess we can go ahead and start the meeting then. Okay, so we'll call the March 10th meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Bolton,
Present.
Commissioner Dells. Oh, I see you.
Not present,
Thank
sorry.
you. Commissioner Lehman. You're also muted. So, but we see you.
Okay.
There we go. Commissioner Locke, we know she's going to be late, and Chair LePage.
Here. Okay.
You're still muted.
Yeah. Maybe Gail's having some problem with her mute. She's talking.
Commissioner Lehman, if you're on your phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself.
I think she's having some problem connecting.
Yeah, I think she turned off her video. So
Yeah, we'll just wait a second here before we proceed. Let Commissioner Lehman get back online. Gail is trying to join the meeting, but she keeps getting a message that she can't join until somebody invites her. Anybody got any ideas what the problem is?
I'll re-invite her, but she has been invited.
Yeah, she said she's using the link that you sent in the email, but apparently she's getting this message that she can't join until somebody either leaves or invites her to join.
Archie,
Gail, would you say something?
I did. It says you'll join the call when someone lets you in, but it's usually Margie that lets me in. That's what's happened each time.
So did you hear that, Margie? It says you'll join the call when somebody lets you in. I haven't run into that. Do you know what that?
Yeah, she's.
I'm going to shut it down and go back to the invitation again and see if that changes it.
Yeah, try that. Yeah, just shut it down and re-log in.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm getting the same message.
It's got the same message.
Okay, let me. I'll call.
sorry, Chair LePage, could we just confirm? Because I think what's happening is when you log into a meeting, we get on our side, we get a button that says admit or don't admit. I'm wondering if perhaps if she's clicking on perhaps an agenda or a link from a previous meeting, because it's going to be a different meeting link. So maybe just double check and make sure that it's for this meeting. Because I have not seen her request to admit come through for this meeting yet.
All right, let me relay that to her.
Okay.
Margie, could you send the invitation, resend it, email it to Commissioner Lehman?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
Thank you. There she is. There she is. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, you're still on mute.
I don't know what happened.
Gail, you're still on mute.
I think Commissioner Lehman, I think you have your phone on too, perhaps, because we can hear you talking, but you're on mute, and I think that's where the feedback's coming from.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
We're squared away.
Okay, our exclusive IT crew has resolved that issue. So back to our agenda. Okay, we have no extraordinary business. At this time, we have the public appearances on the agenda. So members of the public may address the commission at this time regarding any matter which is not on our agenda tonight. Is there anyone that would like, from the public, that would like to address the planning commission regarding any issue that is not on our agenda tonight? Okay, I don't see any, don't hear anybody. I don't see any hands raised. So we will move on. The next item on the agenda is announcements. There are no announcements from the chair. Are there any announcements from staff or commissioners or members of the public? Don't hear any announcements. So we will move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the commission or the public may ask that items be considered individually for purposes of commission discussion and/or public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all the recommended actions. So we have 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. We have the meeting, the planning commission meeting minutes of our February 10th meeting. We have the community planning and building monthly permit report. And we also have a use permit. This is use permit 21012. This is consideration of a use permit amendment to use permit 21012 Cafe Luna to extend the hours of operation of an existing restaurant, Cafe Luna, by 3 hours in the evening. And the subject property is located in the Carmel Plaza. It's on the southeast corner of Ocean and Mission. So those are the 3 items on the consent agenda. Does anyone from the commission or the public want any of those items pulled for further consideration? Okay, I don't hear anyone. So can we have a motion to accept the 3 items on the consent agenda tonight?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dells. I'll go ahead and just, okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Lehman. Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Commissioner Delves?
Yes.
Commissioner Lehman?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Okay, we have an order of business tonight. This is a review of the Leadership Carmel's Heart of Carmel, a temporary art installation project. And the purpose of this is to provide staff and leadership with feedback from the commission. So do we have a staff report?
Yes. Hi, commissioners. Thank you for having me here today. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ashley Wright, and I'm the Library and Community Activities Director. And the Library and Community Activities Departments, both in their own ways, oversee artwork for the city of Carmel-by-the-Sea. So the library oversees the city's artwork that is contained in our buildings, and the Community Activities Commission oversees artwork that is in the public right-of-way per policy C9701, which is included with your packet. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with all of you. I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I will whip through this quickly. With me just a second. Everyone can see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So as Commissioner LePage stated, this is a consideration of the Heart of Carmel temporary art installation project that has been brought forth by Leadership Carmel. Leadership Carmel is a 9-month professional development program that has been designed by the Carmel Chamber of Commerce. The Leadership Carmel program started in the fall, and they're nearing the end of their term. And as Leadership Carmel's capstone project, they are proposing the Heart of Carmel, which is a temporary multi-location art installation. The proposed hearts will be placed both on public and private property for the period of 8 to 12 weeks over the summer months per policy C9701, the Art in Public Places policy. Any visual work of art displayed for 2 weeks or more in an open city-owned area on the exterior of a city-owned facility, in other areas designated as public areas, lobbies, or public places. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the Art and Public Places policy. Further, the governing body identified in the policy is the Community Activities Commission. There did used to be in place a Committee for Art and Public Places, which is now defunct. The purpose, in particular, for those of you who are policy wonks and read through all of that policy, the purpose of that policy and that committee were to develop a public art collection that would be owned by the city, so things that to be displayed outdoors, and that has since fallen by the wayside. But the Community Activities Commission is looking at that policy again because this is the first of several requests we've received with regards to public art. The Community Activities Commission has gone through 2 rounds with the Leadership Carmel group and has reviewed and approved their request for their temporary art installation. We are looking for feedback from the Planning Commission regarding the proposed locations for the temporary installations. And any, pardon me? And we're looking for any potential future issues that the Planning Commission can foresee should one or more of the hearts be purchased and installed on public or private property in the commercial or residential district that will be visible from the public right-of-way. So we want to be sensitive to that. This is an example, a good example of potential for what a heart could look like. They're very beautiful. San Francisco has done a project like this, and a handful of other California towns. It is very heartwarming, not to be punny, but that is part of their goal here, especially during this difficult time. To get into the nitty-gritty, the hearts are 52 inches by 52 inches by 10. They're composed of fiberglass. They will be painted with acrylic paint and coated with anti-graffiti lacquer. Their weight is approximately 40 pounds. The base plate is 24 by 24 inches. The composition is granite or another heavy stone. They're working on the base plate for those. And that weight for those is approximately 160 pounds, so 200 pounds total. That was one of the questions that came up as we were reviewing this project. So that's 200 pounds total. You know, how difficult would these be to shift or move if we were worried about theft? And 200 pounds is quite a bit to move. So I don't think that will be of too much concern. Prior to this meeting, the spec sheet for the base of the hearts was distributed to the Planning Commission. It's not great here. I know you all review plans on the regular, so the larger the format, the better. But hopefully you all had a chance to review what this will look like. There will be nothing that will be drilled into the sidewalks or anything else in the public right-of-way. These will be standalone bases for these hearts. This is an example of what it would look like installed in the real world. Carmel Plaza is one of the proposed locations. So you can see they're about the size of a small adult if they're on the ground. The proposed locations on private property are the Court of the Fountains, which is on Mission Street between Ocean and 7th, Carmel Plaza, Carmel Art Association, the Pine Inn Courtyard in front of the Carmel Women's Club, and All Saints Church, or the Church of the Wayfarer. Leadership Carmel has been working with private property owners on this and are awaiting further direction from the Planning Commission. The proposed public places are the Sunset Center in front of the Harrison Memorial Library, the police station, Forest Theater, Devendorf Park, and First Murphy House. They are also proposing, as part of the locations, to distribute print maps detailing the location of these hearts while they are up and installed, as well as having that information accessible online. And this is an example of what the map could or will potentially look like. The duration, as I mentioned before, would be 8 to 12 weeks during the summer months. Carmel leadership, our leadership Carmel, will be doing a call for artists. They will be, artwork will be, all artwork that is submitted will be reviewed by a panel of local residents, business owners, and artists, and they are working on building their panel currently for that review. They will be providing artists with the supplies, so the paints to paint the hearts, and a $500 stipend. They also have a funding and sponsorship program. So their first round of fundraising is seeking funds to cover the costs of the hearts and supplies, with an auction goal to follow that to provide funds for youth scholarships and leadership programming through the Carmel Women's Club and the Chamber of Commerce. And you can see here they've built in their sponsorship level and have a plan for what that will look like once that's released to the public. So analysis of this project. Our public art policy addresses the temporary installation of art on public property, 2 weeks or less, or the permanent installation of art on public or private property, which is 1 year or more, but it doesn't address anything outside of these timeframes, so anything in between that. The Community Activities Commission, again, has reviewed this as the governing body identified in policy C9701, absent the Committee for Art in Public Places, and they've approved this project. This is the first temporary art installation that the CAC has reviewed. And again, we will, I'm the chair of, or the staff liaison for that commission, and we will be reviewing policy C9701 because I have a feeling that we will be getting, we will have further requests for this type of public art display. And it's time to review that policy. In addition, what we're looking for from the Planning Commission is to consider with your expertise and your lens, the commercial district design guidelines, which of course govern and are looking to conserve our village character, the pedestrian orientation, and that emphasis on architecture and facades with maintaining our residential character. So does this fit in with this project fit in with that? And then also considering the policies and standards for public way design with attention to anything placed on pathways, sidewalks, anything in the public right of way. That policies and standards does not address public art, but it does address street furniture, and I think captures the essence of kind of what this project is looking to do. The Public Works Department has reviewed this project and provided comments to Leadership Carmel. And I will note that Leadership Carmel has been incredibly responsive, working with the Public Works Department staff, Community Activities Department staff, as well as Planning Department staff. And we've enjoyed shepherding through them through this process, especially as working with a policy that doesn't quite fit. And so we welcome any feedback that you have and any thoughts that you have with regards to this project. And that is my presentation. I will also make note that Scott Julian and Shannon Barricker are here as representatives of that project. And I believe we also have a few other Leadership Carmel members. I can see Barbara Dickinson here. So if you have any questions that I can answer that are more, really nitty-gritty details, they're here and available for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Ashley or the other? I guess the other people were members of the leadership group.
I do have a question. Can you hear me, Commissioner Page?
Yes.
Ashley, could you clarify again where the money is coming from, the initial money, and after these are auctioned off, assuming they are, where will the money go? Where will it be donated, and to what? And the issue of insurance, is the city going to assume liability for these if anyone is hurt? If with all the different things where accidents can happen. As a taxpayer, I would not be comfortable feeling like the insurance is a burden borne by the city.
So Commissioner Lehman, I'm going to answer your questions in reverse, and then I'm going to ask Shannon or Scott to speak to the sponsorship piece of this. So as far as insurance go, Leadership Carmel will be working with the Chamber of Commerce to ensure the hearts that are placed on public property, and then they are working with private property owners on the insurance for those hearts. And then Shannon or Scott, I will turn it over to you to speak about the sponsorship and funding for the project in detail.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you all for having us here. We're excited to present this project. So in terms of the sponsorship, we have gone after private donations for our initial round of sponsorship. On that form, there are different levels of the sponsorship. So we've had an overwhelming response of businesses, nonprofits, and locals that have stepped forward to donate to this project. And then in terms of the auction at the end, the money that is raised will be donated back. Part of it will be towards the Carmel Women's Club for youth scholarships. And then part of it will also go back into the Chamber Foundation, again, for future leadership scholarship programs.
Does that answer your questions, Commissioner Lehman?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I just had a quick question. The membership of this leadership group comes from within the chamber? Is that the?
Yes, so it's correct? It's a program that's designed through the Carmel Chamber of Commerce. There's an application process that we all had to submit. We had to submit letters of recommendation, and it's a 9-month program that was chosen through the Chamber of Commerce.
And then the group chooses a capstone project, and this one capstone project, and this is the result of that.
Exactly. It was to be a legacy project, something that we give back to the city.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other questions for Ashley, Scott, or Shannon? Okay, hearing none. Are there members of the public that would like to speak about this project that are here tonight? I don't hear anybody chiming in, so I will open it up to the commissioners for their comments. Commissioner Lehman, would you like to begin?
Sure, I'm glad to.
Thank you.
I must admit, I have some discomfort with the idea, not with the idea of having an art project and a competition and an auction, because I think that's a lovely idea. But the subject is bothering me. I think, from what I know of the leadership programs, they've always picked real cream of the crop people, and I'm sure we certainly have that in Carmel. But what bothers me is that as a community of artists, both founded by really and continued by, I sense a lack of originality in the proposal, mostly because I feel like it's been done so much. When San Francisco originally did it, it was in 2004, and they did 131 hearts. And they did it again this past year. And they did it as a benefit for San Francisco General Hospital. So my discomfort around this is twofold. I think if any money is made from this in the auctions, it needs to not go to commercial institutions, but because we have so much need because of the pandemic in this county, that if you said you were giving it all to the food bank or to Natividad, which is a county hospital, I would be more comfortable with it. But I'm not comfortable with it going to the Chamber of Commerce. As a city, we, as taxpayers, we do give a lot of contribution to the Chamber of Commerce. And I think it's important that we don't use something such as this such as this project to give back to the businesses. I think that the businesses, I realize that they've suffered, but I don't think that's the purpose of what should essentially be called or referred to as a charity auction. It should go to charity and to helping people, and scholarships for leadership or are just inappropriate, I think. When I would love to see the art project, but I'm concerned about the fact that we're not being as creative as we can. And so I'm sorry to be negative about this because I think it has great possibilities, but I think it needs to be, I realize a lot of thought and a lot of time has probably already gone into this, but that's where I'm coming from right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lehman. Commissioner Bolton, would you like to make some comments?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Oh, shoot. Now I just knocked my screen over. Let's try this one more time. So I think Commissioner Lehman made some excellent points. I have less of an issue with the semi-derivative nature of the art project as proposed, but I do have the similar concern about the end result of the money earned. I agree that this would be a much easier thing for me to accept if it was at the end going to be a public donation to some kind of charity. I agree that the money going back into the Chamber of Commerce, even if it's for internal purposes for a scholarship or something like that, which is arguably, of course, charitable, isn't quite as helpful, or it's not of the moment. I think basically we need to focus on the public greater good, and this seems like a bit of a potential to enrich the chamber. Not that the chamber doesn't do great work and doesn't deserve to make money and earn money, but I agree that the city does contribute already to this, and I would feel more comfortable if it had some kind of more charitable tie-in. I don't have a whole lot of comment about the zoning and other municipal connotations of the planning. I don't have an issue with this. It's a fairly short term. It has been successful in other communities, or similar things have been successful in other communities, and I think that's a lot of fun. The hearts are fine. That's basically my only comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolton. Commissioner Dells, would you like to make some comments regarding this project?
I'm just seeking a little clarification. As our role as commissioners, pardon me, everyone, I'm still fairly new to the commission. Are we just providing feedback, or do we have some approval role here?
I think we're just providing feedback.
Okay. Because strictly wearing a planning commissioner's hat, I have absolutely no objection to this. I think it's a great way to start with public art. I think the world can use a few hearts right now. For the first step, I think it's lovely. I look forward to the next one, really. I really have, I don't have a strong opinion on how the funds from the auction are distributed. As an entrepreneur myself, I have great value in leadership. To me, leadership is art. And to be investing in future leaders in our community is something I support, as I would support Commissioner Lehman's ideas for other contributions. And end of the day, I think that's up to the people that are organizing this and not the Planning Commission. So I think it's good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dels. It's an interesting discussion. I feel like, I mean, I understand the concerns expressed by Commissioner Lehman, but it seems to me that what I heard was the intent of this program is to provide other programs which encourage leadership and further art. And the Women's Club is a social service club. I mean, they serve the community in many ways. So I kind of think we're talking about the same thing here. I mean, maybe you could select a different organization to just donate the money to. I mean, something that you're more in favor of, but I think it sounds like all the money's going back to the community. It's not going to enrich the coffers of the chamber. At least that's my impression. If I'm wrong, you can correct that. But then I'd like to give some time to the committee members to speak about the comments of the Planning Commission. And I think that to be honest with you, I think Commissioner Bolton's comment about a little derivative is true, but I feel like the opportunity for creativity here is in what the individual artists do with those, and there could be some very interesting things. And I like the way it's spread around the city. There's an opportunity for people to get the map, to walk around. It gives people a reason to kind of move around the village downtown, and that leads to a lot of other activity and connections. So I think it's a good project. I fully support it, and I'd like to turn it back to one of the committee members to kind of talk more about the concerns of Commissioner Lehman.
Absolutely, and apologies if I wasn't clear on that, but it is going partially to the Chamber Foundation, which is a new 501c3, for the use of future scholarship programs for future leaders within Carmel. So it's not an operating fund that it's going to the Chamber. We're just housing it through their new nonprofit to then give out impartial to these leadership scholarships. And then exactly as you just stated, the other half to the Women's Club for local, very local scholarships going forward.
Thank you, Shannon.
So I hope that clears that up. If there was any other questions, happy to jump in there.
Barbara Dickinson has her hand up. You want to unmute and speak? Did you see the mute button at the bottom of your screen? Just click on that, the red, there you go.
Sorry, I was doing the one next to my name. I just wanted to say as far as when Shannon said the local scholarships, those are for not only children who are from here, but also that are going to school locally, to college locally.
So, but the intent is to provide scholarships to children for college and I guess probably just college. That's where the only cost would be incurred.
Yes, for college.
Okay, are there any other comments from the planning commissioners or the public or anyone regarding this application? Okay, I don't see anybody. I think I want to thank all of you. I want to wish you the best of luck with your project, and we'll move on to the next item on our agenda tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda tonight are our public hearings. And the first item is a design review. It's design review 21-061. It's consideration of a design review. That's been continued. All right, the first one is going to be use permit 21-058. This is consideration of a use permit amendment to expand the existing restaurant by 250 52 square feet within the San Carlos Square located in the Central Commercial District. Can we have the staff report, please?
Great. Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. I'm sorry, if you could give me just a minute. Looks like my PowerPoint closed on me. Okay, trying again. And can you see the PowerPoint?
We can see it, Marnie. Thank you.
Okay, still look good, I hope.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, well, so thank you. This afternoon.
Marnie, you may want to change the display settings. It's showing up in two pieces.
Let's see.
There
How's
you
that?
go. You got it.
Okay, so before you this afternoon is a use permit amendment for Stationery Restaurant. So Stationery is an existing 1,000 square foot full line restaurant located in the San Carlos Square. Approximately 582 square feet of the space is their dining area. They operate under a use permit that was issued back in 1982 to Jack London and Company. And just prior to them occupying this space, this was the location of Club Jalapeno. The use permit allows hours of operation from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And these are pictures of both the exterior and the interior of the restaurant. Certainly the interior looks a little bit different under COVID circumstances. So Stationery received their business license approval in April of 2018. 2 years shy of being open, the coronavirus pandemic hit and all indoor dining became prohibited. So they have been operating with outdoor dining. The pictures you see here are the outdoor dining parklet that they have on San Carlos. And then also more of an emphasis on takeout, really to try to capture, the loss of indoor dining. So the use permit amendment would allow Stationery, who currently occupies Unit 11, to offer to-go food in Unit 3. So Unit 3 is just over 250 square feet. This would give the restaurant a total square footage of just over 1,300. The to-go portion would be 19% of the total floor area. So it would remain incidental to the restaurant operations. This area would not contain any tables or chairs. There would not be any kind of food prep. It's simply some additional space to allow folks who are ordering food either online or over the phone to pick up their food and not have to interact with the servers and other folks that are working out of Unit 11. So this does provide some social distancing between those two functions of the restaurant. So staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the use permit amendment. This expands the existing restaurant by 252 square feet. There are special conditions of approval that are included in the resolution just to ensure that it remains an ancillary function of the larger restaurant and that no tables or chairs are placed within the tenant space. So with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the commissioners for Marty?
No, thank you.
Okay, I don't hear any questions from the commissioners.
No, thank you.
Okay. Is anyone from the public that would like to address the commission regarding this application?
I would like to speak on this.
Okay. Can you identify yourself?
Yes, it's Joe Todd, Carmel resident, and I am all for the extension. The restaurant that's there now does a really great job, and the extension makes very good sense.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the planning commission? Okay, I don't hear anyone else. I'll close the public comments portion, open it up to the commissioners. Commissioner Bolton, would you like to begin the discussion?
I certainly can.
Thank you.
So I have no objection to this, and I think it's a very good idea. Anything that can help keep these businesses in operation and increase social distancing while we have to still do that is really welcome. My concerns were more about potential for additional seating or conversion to new future use, but the resolution covers that thoroughly, and I don't see any objection to this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolton. Commissioner Lehman, would you like to make some comments?
Yeah, I'm fine with it if it makes their life a little easier to separate it from the seating and I can't find any fault with it. I think it's good for their business. So it's an empty space right now. I'm assuming it's an empty space right now. They're not displacing anyone. So no problem.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Delves?
I'm fully supportive and have nothing to add to what the other commissioners have said. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, do we have a motion to accept the resolution?
Sure, I can do that. So for use permit 21-058 Stationery, San Carlos, 3 northeast of 6th Avenue, to expand the existing restaurant by 252 square feet within San Carlos Square, located in the Central Commercial Zoning District. I recommend approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the resolution as presented by staff. Is there any more discussion? I don't hear any, so can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Bolton,
Yes.
Commissioner Delves,
Yes.
Commissioner Lehman,
Yes.
Chair LePage.
Yes, the resolution passes. Okay, the next
Come
item.
here and help me.
I'm sorry. Who's that? Oh, I guess somebody didn't have their mic muted. All right. Okay, the next item on the public hearings tonight is a design study. This is DS 20-392. This is consideration of a concept design for a 233 square foot addition to an existing one-story residence. It's located in the single-family residential zone, and it's also construction of a new 240 square foot detached garage. And it is located on Camino Real 3 southwest of 13th Avenue. Can we have staff report, please?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me and see everything okay?
Yes, we can, Evan. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So the project site is a 4,000 square foot lot located on Camino Real 3 southwest of 13th. The property contains an existing 1,640 square foot residence that includes a 281 square foot attached garage. A determination of ineligibility for listing on the city's historic inventory was issued for the site on March 28, 2019. The applicant is proposing to demolish 136 square feet from the existing residence to accommodate a 233 square foot addition and the construction of a new 240 square foot garage located within the front setback. The existing attached garage would be converted to an accessory dwelling unit or ADU and would be expanded by 51 square feet for a total of 332 square feet. State law generally precludes local jurisdictions from exercising discretion over the approval of ADUs, except in cases where there are conflicts with the adopted local coastal program or the larger coastal act. In this case, those conflicts do not exist, so the scope of work under the Planning Commission's purview is the 97 square foot net addition to the residence and the construction of the 240 square foot detached garage. The residence is proposed to paint its stucco finish while integrating new stone cladding. The existing composition shingle roof will be replaced with a new clay tile roof, and all windows will be replaced with metal clad wood. The project also proposes the addition of a new 165 square foot rooftop deck and site coverage and landscaping modifications throughout, including new flagstone paver walkways, cobblestone paver driveway, and the addition of a rear deck and roof deck, and the creation of a new southern courtyard. The site contains one significant cypress, which is not proposed to be removed as part of the project. However, the new detached garage would be located within the structural root zone of the tree. Staff did review the proposed project with the city forester, who determined the garage would not impact the significant tree of protection measures are taken during construction. And the tree protection measures required by the forester have been included as draft conditions of approval number 1 and 2, stating an air spade shall be used for excavation within the structural root zone of the cypress tree, and the city forester shall be on site for all excavation for the proposed garage. And certain building foundation requirements may be required by the forester. The forester has also recommended planting one upper and one lower canopy tree on site, and the applicant has included these plantings on the site plan and landscape plan, and it has also been included in draft condition of approval number 3. Staff has not identified any view impacts associated with the project. The roof height is proposed to increase from 16 feet 6 inches to 17 feet 5 inches. However, the increase in roof height does not create any view impacts. There is a new 165 square foot roof deck proposed, which may create some privacy impacts to the neighbors. The roof deck is proposed to be centrally located on the residence and will be accessed via an exterior staircase located on a patio alcove created by the removal of an exterior bedroom wall. The roof deck will be screened to the south by existing landscape screening. The applicant has provided a photograph from the existing roof at the location of the proposed deck looking south, showing the extent of the existing screening, as well as photos from the western neighbor's rear yard towards the subject property. The residence to the north is unscreened and has potential privacy impacts to the existing second-story deck and an existing second-story window. However, according to the applicant met with the neighbor when the public notices were being distributed, and that neighbor expressed no objections. In staff's opinion, the applicant has provided adequate evidence indicating the proposed roof deck would not create significant privacy impacts. However, if the commission determines there would be an impact, the commission should consider if additional screening should be included, if the design changes should be made, or if the deck should be removed in its entirety, and provide direction in their motion. The proposed additions do not significantly increase the mass or bulk of the main residence as seen from the public right-of-way. The maximum plate height would be maintained at 12 feet 4 inches, and the ridge height would be slightly increased as previously mentioned. The residence maintains its single-story form and is compatible with the scale of the adjacent homes. As viewed on the project plans, the proposed residence and detached garage appear to be consistent with the scale of the adjacent, or with the residence and surrounding homes. However, upon inspection of the story poles, the new garage appeared to dominate the street frontage and appeared to be out of scale with the adjacent properties and establish context of the neighborhood. The zoning code does allow for the placement of garages in the front setback, and the design guidelines also speak to allowing garages in the front setback. However, the design guidelines also state parking facilities should not dominate the design of a house or a site, and the mass should relate to the context of homes nearby, and the mass seen from the right-of-way should be minimized. To ensure compliance with the design guideline 6.1, 7.1, and 7.2, and allow for the proposed garage to be in scale with the adjacent properties as required by the zoning code, staff has included draft condition of approval number 4, stating the applicant shall set the garage back a minimum of 3 feet from the property line. Currently, it's set back 3 inches, which would reduce the mass of the garage as seen from the public right-of-way and allow for the context of the neighborhood to be maintained while still allowing the garage to be located in the front setback as otherwise encouraged by the design guidelines. The location of the additions and modifications to the building are primarily dictated by the existing building form. The existing building is a simple U shape with a central patio located at the northern end of the building. An additional patio is proposed to be located at the south elevation to accommodate access to the roof. Small additions are proposed for the east and west elevations as well. And notwithstanding the changes in building form, each elevation when viewed individually, either from the street or from a neighboring site, are not overly complex and are consistent with the residential design guidelines pertaining to building form. The existing roof forms are proposed to remain. And the new street-facing additions will maintain the 4 and 12 pitch throughout, with the proposed addition at the rear having a 3 and 12 pitch. The existing building does maintain non-conforming minimum side yard and composite side yard setbacks. However, the non-conforming portions of the residence are proposed to be maintained. In accordance with the zoning code, a lawful non-conforming structure may be maintained, repaired, or altered as long as such maintenance, repair, or alteration does not increase the nonconformity. The proposed building meets those standards, so those nonconforming features are permitted to remain. According to the municipal code, to encourage a variety and diversity in the neighborhood design, detached garages and carports may be authorized by the Planning Commission within the front yard setback facing a street and within interior side yard setbacks, provided that the proposal is compliant with the municipal code requirements outlined below. Staff included condition of approval number 5, which requires the removal of the bay window in the garage to further decrease the mass of the structure. Condition of approvals number 1 and 2 ensure protection of the significant tree, and condition of approval number 4 requires the garage will be set back 3 feet from the property line. So as conditioned, the garage will meet these the requirements of the municipal code. Prior to final details review, staff is requesting the Planning Commission consider the appropriateness of the proposed entry feature for the site. The applicant has proposed a 3-foot tall stone wall with a 7-foot 8-inch stone archway and a 6-foot 8-inch door within the arch. Typically, arbors located within the front setback are limited to a maximum height of 7 feet, and gates are limited to a maximum height of 6 feet. The proposed features exceed the allowable heights identified in the municipal code. However, the maximum heights of these features are permitted to be altered through design review by the Planning Commission. Due to the massing issues identified related to the garage and potential views into the site being eliminated, in staff's opinion, the archway and gate should be limited to that's prescribed in the municipal code, and has included draft condition of approval number 6 stating this requirement. Notwithstanding any direction regarding the gate or the archway, a light is proposed to be integrated into the top of the arch, which otherwise wouldn't be permitted by the electrical code. So draft condition of approval number 7 has been included, stating that light is required to be eliminated. So staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving a concept design study for a 233 square foot addition to an existing 1-story residence and the construction of a new 240 square foot detached garage, with the following considerations. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there some questions for staff regarding this application?
Yeah.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes. Evan, in looking at the city website for accessory dwelling units, and I understand the ministerial, but there are a couple of things that the city brings up about ADUs, and it specifically says all of the existing and proposed structures, including ADUs, shall not exceed the allowable base floor area for the lot. And this does exceed the base floor area. And
sure. So I know the handout you're referencing. Unfortunately, it's an outdated handout, and I'm sure we'll address that very quickly.
Yeah, the website.
So that provision no longer applies. There was a new state law passed fairly recently. I don't remember the exact date, but it effectively allows ADUs to be constructed with certain size limitations. However, they are not subject to the underlying floor area requirements of the city. You basically have to think of it as being allowed under a separate set of standards that's prescribed in the state law.
Okay, so the other thing I found that I found troubling, and I would like to see something that overwhelms this. It says only ADUs are allowed to add up to 150 square feet beyond the physical dimensions of the existing accessory structure to provide for ingress. And this is not ingress that's provided. The ingress, in my thoughts, would be from the exterior to access not from the interior as just an entry into the structure. I'm not trying to be difficult about this, but part of the problem is the Planning Commission has never been given sufficient information. I know we've had some, but sufficient information about ADUs. And I think it's true of the general contractors or the developers in the community as well, that there's the thoughts are all over the place of exactly what can be built on one's property. So I think we will need some. Certainly, if this is on the city website, this has to come off, and appropriate information needs to come on. But I am finding that, even in reading AB 3182, that and the combined changes, that that this is well, more than confusing. And I do still feel that the project on the lot is it's really too large for the lot. I think.
Commissioner Lehman, if I could interrupt for a moment, why don't you save those comments for your,
Okay, I'm glad.
and then if you have questions for staff, let's deal with those now, and then save those good comments for when we make our comments.
No problem.
So, do you have any other questions for staff? Anyone?
No.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Bolton.
Is there any prohibition about interior connection with ADUs with main houses?
No, I actually had the same question a couple months back, and I sent HCD an email asking that exact question. They said it's the local jurisdiction to make that determination, and ultimately up to the building official. We have not had a determination that would otherwise say that.
Okay, and the second question is there a maximum size for these ADUs?
Yes, it depends whether it's attached or detached, whether it's a conversion or not. Conversions can be up to 50. If it's a conversion of the existing residence, it can be up to 50% of the square footage of the existing residence. There's also different limitations for a new detached structure, whether it's 1 or 2 bedroom. I'm blanking on the exact figures at the moment, but the numbers that pop into my head are 850 square feet for a 1 bedroom, or up to 1,200 square feet if you have more than 1 bedroom.
All right. Thank you very much for the information. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question too,
Mr. Dels.
Yeah. First off, I share Gail's confusion, frustration over ADUs in general, and echo the thoughts that I think we need to be, I'll speak for myself, I need to be better educated on this. You know, I get concerned that we will now get a whole bunch of ADU, well, they're not even requests, right? They don't have to be. They can just be handled at the staff level, and we're going to end up with a whole new set of projects that exceed the lot size, the lot size coverage. And that's important here. So without picking on this project, it's just something I think we need to understand. And for staff, one of the questions I also have is beyond the city for water credits, is that a limitation, or are ADUs essentially a vehicle to print water credits? Right. So I need some answers to that going forward as it pertains to questions for this project. Is a garage required?
So to answer the first question regarding water, ADUs still require water. And when you convert a garage to an ADU, you are not required to provide parking. You do not have to replace your required on-site parking. However, I would like to remind the commission that this project the ADU cannot be considered as part of the project. State law precludes us from doing so. All we can look at is the proposed additions as outlined in the beginning of the presentation.
Okay.
And I recognize that it is confusing because it's clearly there, but yeah, the state law precludes us from applying any type of discretion towards the ADU.
I do have one more question for you, Evan, unless someone else needs to. I realize I've already done this once. But can we get an accurate count without the ADU of what the square footage of the house and the new garage add up to?
Yes, I have that.
Because my understanding is that has to comply with our 1,800 square feet. Is this correct?
Yes, it does. And that's what the breakdown of the figures are here under the P for proposed. So the house with the garage would be 1,695 square feet. which would be less than the maximum 1,800.
No, but with the garage?
With the garage, correct.
Well, that's not what I get. Plus, it's 1,695 plus the 233 plus the 240 comes to 2,168 minus the 136. It comes to 2,032.
So the ADU is subtracted out. The ADU is no longer part of the house. And there is also the removal of 136 square feet.
Well, I took that out, and then the ADU is 233.
The ADU is 332. So I'll go to the project plans. I might not be able to, that's cool, I can zoom in. So you can see a breakdown of the floor area there between the existing and the proposed, and then the accessory dwelling unit is counted as a completely separate line item.
Yes, I understand. Uh-huh.
Okay, does that answer your question, Commissioner Lehman?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I think that concludes the questions for staff. Eric Dyer, the architect, is here. I'm sure he wants us to present his to us next.
Yes, thank you, Chair LePage. And just to respond to Commissioner Lehman's question, the total with garage, the total square footage excluding the ADU is 1,694. So it is under the maximum allowed. Just to be clear about that. And that does include the garage. Okay, Evan, I wanted to start presenting. So I guess.
Yep, I'll stop. Feel free to take over.
Okay. And let me see that again. Okay, so I thought I'd start at the beginning of it, which is the existing house is probably, I guess, what you call kind of the ugly duckling on the block. It's not very attractive, and the Youngs have been thinking about this project for several years, and have finally decided to make the move. They're going to make this their primary residence and wanted to improve it and really make it a great piece of architecture on this street. The remodel and addition proposed the transformation of the look of the house, although keeping it one story. And the design is going to be using a Mediterranean style of architecture from southern France with the barrel tile roofs, typical of the Provence style roof eaves.
Eric, can I oh, there you go. He just muted. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I don't know how much, did you not hear the first part of that? Or?
No, we could hear. It's just that Evan wasn't muted, and
okay, I heard the.
It was interfering with your. If you can turn your volume up a little bit, you're a little low.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
It's much better. Thank you.
Okay. So as I was talking about the style of the house, which is kind of a Provence style architecture with these type of roof eaves, what they call Genoise roof eaves, and barrel tile roofs. And we use a lot of the overgrouted stone, which is typical of the style, as well as integral color stucco in other parts of the house. Little elements, design elements like this little trellis over the ADU form add to that character, we find. Another important impetus to the project was to provide more light into the interior spaces and from more directions. There's health reasons for that, as well as aesthetic. The glare from light in one direction can trigger pretty intense migraines for one of the occupants. And so we tried to utilize a design that can mitigate those triggers. So one of the ways we did that was to carve out, I will go to the next, carve out a little bit of the south side of the property, or the south side of the building, which was originally just a very long, straight unbroken wall against the south property line. This allows for a little bit of light and air and openness in a small way, at least, and on the southern side, so you get nice light into the master bath and into the kitchen, living room, and dining room on this side. So we feel the new design is really a great contribution to the street and a huge improvement over the shabby existing structure. I would also add, there was one comment in the staff report about how the shape of it is maybe a little bit unusual, and I would kind of argue against that, just making the point that from every place you have a vantage point of the building, it is a unified, simple composition. The other thing I'd want to move on to is some of the other things addressed in the staff report. One was the garage location, which is, I know several of the neighbors or some of the neighbors had called into question as well. But there's, of course, neighbors that like it as well, but I wanted to address that in particular. It really was generated out of the tree issues. And there's a major cypress tree on the site, as you see, is when you go by there, which is here. And for several years, the Youngs actually, the original garage was here if you went out to the site. And for several years, they weren't even able to get into, and presently they can't get into their garage. The pavement here is all pulled up by the major roots of this tree. And when we had the arborist Frank and Justin Ono over there, they and Sarah Davis recommended that this asphalt all be removed to provide better soil and root protection for this very healthy cypress. The other thing to understand is there was another relatively large cypress in this area, in the south of the 50-inch cypress. And that was determined to have structural rot problems at its core. And the arborists found that it was actually hurting the health of the existing cypress tree. So that was removed. The stump was removed as well, which cleared a lot of the existing roots in this area. The Onos, and I think Sarah Davis agrees with this, was that the major roots in this area are not going to be a problem for this tree because its growth and the roots of this tree were blocked by that original tree that was here and now removed. So we certainly agree with the staff report and are happy to do the aerated excavation that's required on this side and do any bridging that's necessary to protect any significant roots we find. But the position of this garage is really the only place we could really put it. And, you know, the Youngs certainly deserve a simple garage for their car. Moving on to the other issues in terms of the height of it, and I guess it comes down to the ordinance, which does encourage, sorry, I'm going to go back to this. Sorry, hit the wrong button. Yes, the ordinance does encourage the setbacks and variation and diversity in the neighborhood. This is the only, as far as I know, in this block, the only proposed detached garage. And we find it actually works very well. It is fairly close to the street, but as you move down and look at it, this is from 13th Street. It's virtually completely blocked by the large cypress tree. Here's a little bit closer, and you can see how that really screens this single car garage that's at the street. And you can also kind of tell how the ins and outs of the street, where they have the houses at different setbacks and garages at different setbacks, add to the diversity and variety of the street. Here's the same thing from the other side. So the other thing I want to talk about in terms of the recommendation by the city staff about moving it back is that we were trying to create not just a big long stretch of south property wall. If you move this, 3 feet back, it gets very tight. This whole open space where we're bringing light into the dining room and, opened on this side for the Kaplans is basically removed. It begins to look like an attached structure, which takes away from the way it breaks up the mass by having a detached garage, which was one of the importance of why the code was put into place. So that's the garage section. I guess I would just mention that there's a lot of garages that are approved all the time this way. So I guess the question for the Planning Commission is, if this is not allowed, what makes this different from the ones that have been approved? Let me go back to, oops. Sorry, I was looking for the, okay, I'm missing my one photo I was looking for, but there's other very good examples of garages that are at the street. The other thing I was just going to bring up, since I noticed it was on the commission hearing after this one, was another proposed detached garage, which is only a foot away from the property line and seems to work fairly well. And I don't think the fact that we have a one-story house, we should be penalized because that makes the garage seem bigger compared to the overall full. Obviously, this is a two-story house where that makes this garage maybe seem a little smaller, but it's basically a similar sized garage at the street. So moving on to the other issue I wanted to discuss, which was the roof deck. The roof deck, as Evan was describing, is screened basically from a lot of the privacy issues of the neighbors. And one of the problems with roof decks we found is that they're not often very well integrated into the composition of the house itself. And we find in this case, we're very well integrated. It's at the center of the house, 22 feet from the rear property line, and exactly basically centered between the two side yards. One of the kind of bad examples you see in town sometimes is that the access to these roof decks are, out on the front of a main elevation or something where it looks kind of crappy. And by doing this, carving away the center part, you can't ever really, and integrating the stairs into the building wall, you basically can't see this whole access to the roof deck. So it's very discreet and extremely discreet from the street. Looking at this little detail from the guidelines, this is exactly what we're not doing. We're not putting a deck right at the property line, being able to look down into other people's property. So, the guidelines call for and encourage a reasonable protection of privacy, not, excluding it altogether. I wanted to just show you this. We did a site section based on surveyed information showing the lower deck is completely screened by existing foliage and a trellis. And from the roof deck, it's also screened by two major trees here and here. What we propose is to plant another one on the Young's property here to completely block any possibility of seeing the roof deck. So that would be in this location here. And this is just a simple, small deck that they can enjoy a peek of the ocean and open air and sunlight, which is important to them. There was always a consideration to do a second story. And in Carmel, basically, if you do a second story, you're almost always allowed to have a deck off the second story. Instead, here, the Youngs have decided to keep to one story and just ask for a small deck on access from a private courtyard. I just wanted to show you a couple of other examples in town that were recently approved. Here's one on Lincoln Street that has an upper level roof deck. Here's that roof deck from this other project I'm actually working on. And this does have actually a little peekaboo into the house, and you maybe see some heads of the occupants of this house, but it's reasonable. Here's another example of a good example of integrating the roof deck into the existing structure, which I think is done well, as we are doing. See it here, and from this side, it's very discreet as we are from the street. Of course, here's my favorite roof deck, which I grew up in when I first moved to Carmel. The other item I guess we can talk about is the idea of the archway for the entrance. It's obviously is a traditional way of doing things. You need to have this archway at a height where you can walk under, which is 6'8". Thus, whatever this is would probably go over the 7-foot requirement by a little bit, but you need to have a 6'8" opening, or otherwise people will hit their head. And it's obviously been approved in a lot of locations. It's done very sensitively in this example, and this is another great historic example on, I believe, Carmelo. So that's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions for Eric from the commissioners?
No, I don't have any.
Eric, I had one question. Have you given any consideration to lowering the plate height on the garage? Or does that complicate issues with the entry door too much?
It is something that could be considered. It's we think it's a reasonable height. You know, I think the height in the code calls for 14 feet maximum, and we're over a foot under that. So that's, you know, something that could be discussed, but you know, I think
thank you.
You need some sort of minimum height, certainly.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Eric and the commissioners?
And I would just ask Chair if I could reserve some time in the end to respond to any comments.
Yes. Okay, I don't hear any more questions from the commissioners.
Actually, I have a question.
Oh, Commissioner Bolton. Okay, didn't see that, sorry.
No trouble. Eric, I'm looking at your plans, and I have a question regarding your floor area calculation.
Sure.
If you look at your main cover sheet, you've got your drawing which shows the exterior stairs. So am I understanding this correctly, that a portion of the exterior stairs are counted towards your floor area because there is something underneath those stairs, and then the remainder, which is pink on these plans, is not counted towards your floor area?
I believe that's the case, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, if that's all the questions from the commissioners, I'm going to ask, is there anyone from the public that would like to make any comments regarding this application to the commission? Let's see, Peter Smith, you have your hand up?
Yes. So this is kind of new to me, so I don't know if you're hearing me.
We hear you.
Okay. So we built our house, I forget, 3 or 4 years ago. We went through the commission hearings. It was nice to be at your, instead of being online. I don't know how well this comes off, but we'll try. So my wife and I just had hip surgery. I got back from my hip surgery on Sunday, I think it's the 3rd. And the next morning, Sunday, we noticed the red flagging go up. It was the following Monday that Eric showed up with this letter stating what they were doing. We didn't receive anything in the mail. When we built our house, we were supposed to do a walk by and post it. So if you guys are doing by mail any more notifications, but we didn't receive a mail notification. So then Eric said he would come back on Thursday with the plans and show us what he was doing. So on Thursday, Eric came over, and that's when he explained that there was a roof deck going in the back, and that's what we saw in the netting. We couldn't figure out what the red netting was that was visible to our backyard. It's going to be a roof deck. So at that time, we expressed to Eric that we were totally against it. He was trying to assure us that they could plant another tree behind that deck, in between the wall and his deck, which is a pretty small area, but a big enough tree to hide his roof deck. And that didn't seem to be a reasonable solution to us, because if they, like Eric said, they didn't, well, Eric said that they don't have an ocean view at that time when he met with us, but now he's saying they do. So they're going to try to keep that tree trimmed so they can see their ocean view if they've got one. So we really don't like that idea of having a tree that they can trim and top and still look into our backyard. But what really was the clincher on this was I asked Eric to look from the inside of the house, I hadn't done before, and he took pictures, but the pictures aren't being shown on your website, and Eric's, I guess, has elected not to show them at this time. But from inside of our house, we have glass windows that go up about 12 feet. And you can see from the roof deck into our house, into our family room, dining room, and kitchen. So does that mean that we're going to have to put blinds up at the upper windows at nighttime to keep those people from looking into our house? No trees are going to be high enough to keep that out. And it doesn't show on his line of sight illustration. So let me get on to my notes. Also, like Commissioner Lehman, I've got real concern about the coverage. It just seems like such a big mass on such a small lot, but I understand the state did approve ADU units. But they're going to have a total of, it looks like about 2,100 square feet of coverage. So if they're converting their garage into an ADU unit, why do they need to have a garage to add to that coverage? I know everybody needs a garage, but now we've just got a massive coverage on the lot, and they're kind of just saying that the ADU units aren't included in the square footage, but they still do impact that lot. The other concern I don't know if they've addressed is they're with such a massive roof line, they've got a lot of water that's going to be going around the perimeter. I was required to put in a pretty substantial French drain system around the whole perimeter of my lot, along with a very large pit that was 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot deep, filled with rock where all the French drain drained into. I don't know if they've addressed that or not on their plans, but their lot does drain into, because it's draining downhill, it does drain into my backyard. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, so when we submitted our plans and had the hearing, we had our back of our house going up to the 3 foot rear setback, and the Youngs came to the hearing and they objected to our 3 foot setback, saying that it impacted their property too much, and we were forced to reduce our house back 18 inches. They have their back of their house with the new master bedroom. They've got that going up to the 3 foot rear setback with their garden window. That doesn't bother me so much. It's the roof deck. I asked Eric when he was here, why couldn't he put the roof deck over the new ADU unit? And he said he would consider that. It certainly would not impact me. It would not impact my neighbor, who's going to be also discussing this. But I think that would be a little better if they need to have a roof deck, and if like Eric said, they don't have an ocean view, put it out over the top of the ADU unit, and they can put stairs in that little patio area they've got on that north side. The other problem that I have with that roof deck in the back is roof decks tend to have a little larger gathering, a little bigger social, a lot of noise. That noise is going to be coming right into my backyard. It's the same reason as why I was told I can't have a hot tub in my backyard, is because of people gathering in a hot tub and the noise level. So I'm concerned about the potential noise level from a large gathering up there, having wine, drinking, socializing, and having a lot of noise coming into my backyard, along with the visual. And my screen trees don't get that much bigger than what they are. They're pretty, you can see through them pretty easy. So I don't think my screen trees are gonna act as much of a screening. And then what else do I have?
Well, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, you're beyond your 3 minutes. Could you kind of wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm wrapping it up. And then on my garage, I was required to have my garage set back from 5 feet from the property line and pushed up to within 3 feet of my house at the time. I don't know why they can't have their garage off the street, but if that's what you guys do, that's what you do. It's just, you know, not too many years ago, that's what I was required to do. So I'm wrapping it up, and that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this? I don't think you're Charlotte, but I see your hand up. You need to unmute, sir. The bottom of the screen, the bar, you hit the red unmute button. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Finley Bogue, and I'm a member of the family that owns the house to the south, right next door to Mr. Peter Smith. And, you know, for the plan, I think the major objection we have is that location of that roof deck. We feel it's going to be looking right down into our backyard, and the privacy issues with that. If you could move it, Mr. Smith made a suggestion. I would second that. I would think that would be, you know, something we can get behind. So I know I don't have a lot of time, but that's what I would say. It's that roof modification, or the modification of the roof, the deck there, that we're objecting to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bogue.
Thank you.
That's all your comments. Okay,
Yeah.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application?
Hey, Charlotte, how come I went off here? Oh, no, never mind.
Mr. Bogue, can you, there you go, thank you. The mute. Okay, I don't hear anybody else from the public. I'm going to give Eric Dyer 3 minutes to respond to some of the comments.
Okay, and I believe Mr. Young would like to just have a quick comment at the very end. But I would just respond to Peter's comments. I did go over there and look at the situation, and it was clear from, as you can see from the photos, that his backyard and even sitting in his living room, there's complete privacy. He does have these transom windows that are up very high in his house, and he has one very large open room that stretches all the way back to the kitchen at the very back of the house. And from the kitchen, I guess you could see something, and maybe the people on the deck could see the top of their heads, but I really don't think that's a reasonable privacy issue. It's very significantly far away. I would emphasize that the roof deck is basically to go up there, not to go to the edge and look over, but you just have a little bit of seating so that they could just enjoy a sunset. That's about it. It's not to have large gatherings. It's not to have large cooking facilities or anything. It's just to go up on an occasion and enjoy the open air and be sitting down. You have to understand that the roof parapets of that deck go up about at least 4 feet. So if you're sitting down, it's about up to here. You're not seeing anything over the edge. The only possible risk is someone going to the very edge, maybe seeing some top of the heads in Peter's kitchen. But I come back to, we're in a 40 by 100 foot lots in Carmel. And we're talking about providing reasonable privacy, which I think just a little extra tree in the back would provide. You can see from the photographs in the backyard that it is completely screened off from the others with the other two trees in place. In regards to relocating the deck, I did look at that, but I found just the access to it be very problematic. And the idea of having a roof deck right at the street, I think, is not optimal for the street or for the Youngs. I mean, I think I really tried in this design to integrate this as well as I could into the architecture and center it in the property and within the building envelope, so that it's very discreet and I think is totally appropriate. Again, you know, I don't see the difference between that size of deck and just if we do a second story and have a deck that's approved every day. Again, there's precedent for it. It's a discreet small deck on the roof. In terms of Mr. Bogue's comments, I have been up the roof. I can't see anything into his property, so I don't think there's a privacy issue there. Drainage, we are going to be putting in the proper drainage system, so that's not an issue. So with that, I will hand it over to Joel Young, who just had a few words to say.
Yeah, hi, and thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Young.
So I want to thank the commissioners and all our neighbors who have expressed their thoughts and concerns about our proposed remodel. I think a little clear to me that no one single plan could address all the potential design concerns that have been communicated today, short of terminating the project. That being said, we purchased our home 10 years ago, and we've been thinking about this remodel since then. We considered two-story design alternatives, which would have been, I think, even bigger privacy issues with the neighbors. And in fact, Peter was informed of that when he was putting his remodel in. We've since looked at our future needs and health conditions, and a one-story home fits better with our situation. As we're nearing retirement, we intend to make Carmel our primary residence, and we've tried to design our home in line with our future needs and the established design guidelines, the Carmel Municipal Code. We love Carmel, and we think Eric has done an outstanding job of designing this home to be an improvement and a benefit to the neighborhood. We respect that the garage seems to be drawing a fair amount of attention and concern. We had restrictions to consider due to the significant cypress tree, and ended up putting the garage basically in the only place in the lot that we could put it. We can't, as Eric mentioned, we can't use our existing driveway. The asphalt is buckled to the point where our car scrapes when we try to drive it into the garage. And as he pointed out, the arborist who came out to look at that tree did indicate that if we were to remove the asphalt and move the garage, it was probably better health for that tree. So we've tried to design a project that is going to be additive to the neighborhood, and we hope that we hit the mark with most of that. So we do thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Staff is requested to make some comments or response. Would you like to go ahead, staff?
Oh, no, thank you, Chair LePage. Yeah, Brandon Swanson here with Community Planning and Building. I just wanted to add a little bit of clarification about staff's recommendation about the garage, just so it doesn't seem arbitrary. The recommendation of pulling the garage back from the street a little bit, when staff does their analysis of things like this, it's done on a case-by-case basis in looking at the specifics of the site. I think Mr. Dyer put up an image of a garage just up the street that's out toward the street as well. Certainly the different sites. I just wanted to make it clear that when staff makes these recommendations, it's not predicated basically on things that have been approved elsewhere in town or other recommendations. It's specific to the site. The different two sites, for example, the location of the garage is different with respect to the topography and the actual side of the street. And that's just a sort of a general rule for staff in making recommendations, not basing it on what's been approved elsewhere in town, or maybe older and legal non-conforming in town. We try to base our analysis on what's specific to the site and how we think it relates to the neighborhood, specifically where it's at. So I just wanted to add that clarification, so it didn't seem arbitrary that we were making the recommendation for the garage to be pulled back. We do feel it's appropriate for this specific site.
Thank you, Director Swanson. Are there any other comments from the public regarding this application?
Yeah, I'd like to make another comment.
If Mr. Smith,
Yes.
If it's something new, that's fine. But if it's just repeating what your other objections, then
in response to what Eric had just said about the impact to the inside of my house, and I would like the opportunity.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'd like the opportunity to take pictures of the inside because it's not like what Eric had said, and I'd like to take pictures and bring them to the planning department and have you see what it actually does to the inside of my house.
All right, this is concept, and we're not at final yet, so there will be time for you to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there anyone else that wants to make any comments from the public regarding this application? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public discussion, open it up to the commissioners for their comments. Commissioner Locke, you just joined us. You want to jump in and start this?
Actually, I'd rather listen to what everybody else has said. Sorry, and I apologize for not making the beginning of the meeting since my dog had surgery today and I had to make sure she was picked up and taken care of before I came into the meeting.
Okay. If you want to pass,
if you could call back.
No problem. No problem. I just saw your face there. Commissioner Bolton, would you like to start the comments?
Sure. Before I do, we have some noise somewhere. Thank you very much. I think the staff did an excellent job on this project. I'm in agreement with the garage assessment by the staff. I think pulling it back from the street would aid in the mass and the presentation of the streetscape. I also am intrigued by your comment, Commissioner or Chair LePage, about the height. I think the house or the garage could potentially be reduced a little bit in height also to help alleviate the concerns of the neighbors. But in general, I'm in support of the location of the garage. The site's highly constrained. The tree adjacent to the garage does not provide any opportunity to move the garage to the north. Otherwise, I would probably be objecting to the side yard intrusion, but there's really no opportunity here. So I have many comments and concerns about ADUs, but this is not the proper venue for them. So I'm going to withhold those for the moment. But suffice to say that we have an issue here where we have overcoverage due to the ADU, but we don't get to consider the ADU impact. So I'm going to just not make any more comments about that. The roof deck, I think, is far enough away from the neighbors and also reduced in size. It's central to the lot. I think the designer's done a good job trying to locate this deck. In general, I have concerns about exterior entrances to roof decks. It's another sneaky way for people to get extra square footage. This is not the case in this particular project, however. Eric has had very little choice but to locate the stairs where he did, judging by the overall design of the project. I'm in support of this project. I don't see very large neighbor impacts. So I think I'll hold my comments till the end if I have any more. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolton. Commissioner Lehman, would you like to make some comments?
Yeah, I'm glad to. Thank you. Eric, I like the house. I think the design is great. I have absolutely no problem with the design. I think there is the sight lines for the deck, I think, are so far away visually that I can't see that. I can support the deck where it is. I was out there earlier today, and I walked the distance from the pole on the garage to the tree, And I was kind of amazed that it was that close. We typically like to conform to that 6-foot circle. I realize the garage is a slab foundation so that you don't have the digging, but I think moving it back the 3 feet, as the staff has recommended, is a really good idea. It will take it that much further away from any of the main routes that you might hit. It's pretty scary when that land gets opened up, when there's a really big tree there and you've got to run French drains and lines. And I mean, there's so much we put underground, along with the, there's just an awful lot that gets to go underground. And these big trees are old and they're very beautiful, and it's nice if they can be salvaged. So that's where I am. I think everyone's reacting a little bit as I was reacting when I was out there looking at it. I think the guidelines establish the square footage on these 4,000 square foot lots by putting a maximum with the parking of 1,800 square feet. And the truth is that we've got 2,200 square foot plus on a 4,000 square foot lot, so it looks crowded. Yeah, I think probably having maybe put one of the bedrooms or something upstairs would have alleviated the mass on the lot. So I am in favor of 2-story houses. I like them just for that reason, that you leave a little bit of land and you get some better drainage going, and you get some space on these smaller lots. So that's really where I'm coming from. But I think you've done a good job. I think I'm surprised that they didn't use the original garage and just build the ADU out front and really separate the ADU like it would be a potential rental one day. But I don't think that's the impetus. And so I do worry about the fact that we're putting a lot more water usage by when we really have an out. But this is a total other conversation that I think I could probably have with Chris. So thank you, and I am in support of the house. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Lehman. I just wanted to remind the commissioners that another issue is the arbor and the gate. So if they want to focus their comments on that, that's something which staff brought up. So having said that, would Commissioner Dells, would you like to make some comments at this time?
I would. As with the other commissioners, I like the project. I think it's a pretty house. I agree with Gail that this is a situation where a 2-story house works better from a lot coverage standpoint. I think I would remind the neighbors that they're not building a 2-story house and trying to do that, and that from a privacy standpoint, that's a plus. The outcome of an approval of this project, as Commissioner Lehman said, is a 2,200 plus square foot unit.
I don't mean to interrupt, but there's a correction on that number.
I used hers. You go, yes, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the total square footage is 2,025.
Eric, let me, please don't interrupt.
I know, I apologize.
Speaking. I see your hand up, and I will call on you.
That's all I wanted to say is correct that.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Dells, please proceed.
Yep. We have an outcome of 2,025 square feet on a lot that our standards say 1,800 square feet is the maximum. That's the outcome we're achieving, right? And I believe that this project is taking advantage of the ADU law passed by the state to achieve that. And all I can say is that that's both clever and legal, and annoying, right? But annoyance is neither here nor there. On the specifics, I agree with others that I believe the roof deck. We all need to get some sunshine in this little town, and we're all packed in together. And to have outlets like that, I think, is very helpful. I think it's thoughtfully done. It's in the center of the house. The stairway to it is well hidden, and with a 4-foot parapet. And the odds are that you are sitting down up there most of the time. I think it's okay. On the garage, I had a good lesson today. Again, I'm new to the Planning Commission, on the value that our code puts on diversity. And whereas originally I was listening to some of the objections from neighbors about how a garage at the front of the lot, might create too much change for the street. I've learned that our own code encourages it, and that's done in the name of diversity, because there are, and always have been, these garages on the lot line or near the lot line all over town. And as I reflected on that, that's absolutely true. So I think our code encourages this. That said, it is going to be noticeable on that block. It is a change to the sort of uniformity of that block, and the Carmel architecture is not uniform. So I'm supportive of the diversity, but to move it back, the commissioners have suggested, and his staff has suggested, if it works, I would do that. I think it just, every little bit helps. As to the gate and the arch, staff has recommended to take it down to the standard. I'd like to hear why not. We've got enough other things going on here that maybe compliance with that one would be helpful. But I'm also not going to fall on a sword over that. It's not a particularly big deal. I like the project. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Dels. Commissioner Locke, would you like to make some comments?
Sure, although I'm very happy that everybody has made such great comments ahead of me. My only big things that I have, in addition to what's already been said, that, the south boundary of the property has a large vegetated covered wall, or whatever it is, covered fence. So I think that the garage really is not going to stand out as much as it may seem that it is. I would like to see it pushed back a little bit, and 1 to 3 feet would be great. But on the other hand, Commissioner Delves just made some great comments that I completely agree with. That it's diversity of the different architectural styles. Many of the houses that are on this block have garages under the house, and it's integrated into the house. So this is a little bit different, and I think diversity is not a thing that we should be afraid of. The arch standard, I'm going to agree with that. I would like to know why this would be different. Why can't we go with the standard on this? There is a lot going on the property, especially with the different, the stonework, the ironwork, and I think really those are my comments on this. And I definitely feel for the comments of our commissioners regarding coverage and how our state requirements for ADUs come into play. That's obviously a different subject, but it is a subject that perhaps needs to be addressed or discussed at some point, and particularly how it merges in when you have an ADU that actually has access, direct access through a locked, closed door in the house. But I know that's not part of this discussion. So I'm supportive of the project, would like to have a couple little tweaks, but I think everybody's covered everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Locke. We have a resolution from staff, which I'm gonna use to focus my comments. So we have recommendations and draft conditions from staff. The ones that have been getting most of the comments tonight are the garage setback. Staff is recommending a 3-foot front yard setback as opposed to right now, I believe it's a few inches. The elimination of the bay window on the garage, we didn't have any discussion from any of the other commissioners about that. What I heard from the commissioners was that they think that the arch and gate should meet the, comply with the height standards. And also the lighting is not supported because it's considered landscape lighting and should not be located more than 18 inches above the grade. So those are the draft recommendations. I did bring up the point that maybe the plate height could be lowered on the garage, and I would recommend to the designer that they look at that, possibly just a 6-inch lowering of the plate height. That can do a lot to mitigate mass. And that's the primary objection and purpose of staff to make the draft recommendation of moving it back 3 feet. The roof deck, in my opinion, seems like it is located in the best place on the property. I understand the neighbors' concerns. I feel a little bit at a disadvantage because we didn't visit those particular sites. But there is a line of sight diagram that's been presented by the architect. It seems to me that that indicates that the view to the neighbor to the west would be marginal. So I don't feel that there's any need on my part to give additional direction on the location of the roof deck. If the neighbor to the south presents something to the Planning Commission, I would recommend that the neighbor to the south presents some photographs to the staff if they feel that there is an actual significant impact, view impact or privacy impact to them during this process. So having said that, do we have a motion to accept the resolution as presented by staff, or would you, the commissioner making the motion, want to modify any of those draft conditions?
I'll make a motion that for concept approval for, I'm sorry, I've just lost the number. DS 20-392 Camino Real 3 southwest of 13th. I make a motion for approval along with the draft conditions in the resolution, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and with number 4, along with setting the garage back a minimum of 3 feet, additionally to lower the plate height 6 inches, a minimum of 6 inches on the garage, and the archway and gate shall be redesigned to comply with the height standards. number 6, which is number 6 and number 7 as well, to comply with our lighting regulations. So.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the resolution as presented by staff with the draft conditions with the additional direction to the applicant to lower the plate height of the garage by a minimum of 6 inches. Do we have a second?
I'll second, yeah.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. As stated, is there any more discussion on this? Okay, hearing no discussion, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes.
Mr. Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, the motion to accept the resolution passes. Thank you, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you at final.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item on the public hearing tonight is a design study. It's DS 20-373. This is consideration of a concept design study for the demolition of an existing 1,114 square foot, one-story single-family residence and garage, and the construction of a new 1,590 square foot, two-story single-family residence with a 210 square foot detached garage. And it's located on Camino Real. It's 2 southeast of 11th Avenue. We have the staff report, please. Thank you.
Evan, I believe you're muted. If you may have to start over and unmute yourself.
Is that better? Hello?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Luckily, I didn't get too far. The project site is 4,000 square foot lot located on Camino Real 2 southeast of 11th. The property contains an existing 815 square foot residence with a 299 square foot attached garage. A determination of ineligibility was issued for the site on August 17th, 2020. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing residence and garage and construct a new 1,590 square foot, two-story residence with a 210 square foot detached garage. A 100 square foot cellar located within the building footprint is also proposed, along with site coverage and landscaping improvements throughout, including a new entry walkway, covered entry porch, and a new patio at the rear. The residence is proposed to be finished with vertical board siding with horizontal board elements and stone integrated throughout. And the roof is proposed to be a standing metal roof. The site contains 1 non-significant oak tree and 2 significant oaks. None of the trees are proposed to be removed as part of the project. However, the new detached garage is proposed to be located within the structural root zone of the trees. Like the previous project, staff reviewed the proposal with the city forester and determined that the garage will not have an impact to the trees, provided certain protection is provided during construction, which are the same conditions as before. 1, that an air spade shall be used for all excavation within the structural root zone of the significant tree, and the city forester be on site during construction and may implement certain building techniques to protect the tree. The forester is also recommending the planting of 1 upper canopy tree on site as outlined in the preliminary site assessment, and draft condition of approval number 3 has been included outlining that requirement. Upon inspection of the story, staff identified that the new second story is within close proximity to overhanging limbs from a tree on the neighbor's property to the north. Staff requested that the forester review the story poles, and the forester confirmed limb removal may be required to accommodate the new second story. Per the forester, any limbs proposed to be removed over 4 inches in diameter will require a tree removal permit, and the applicant will need to coordinate any pruning with the adjacent neighbor since the tree is located on their property. Staff has included draft condition of approval number 4, stating the applicant shall submit a tree removal permit for any limb or limb removal for any limbs required to be cut over 4 inches, and all limbs shall be identified appropriately. Staff has not identified any view impacts associated with the project, nor has staff received correspondence on the project relating to view impacts. While a new second story is proposed to be added, the additional height will not create any new view impacts to the adjacent neighbors. Staff did speak with the adjacent neighbor to the east, who shares a rear property line, who would have their view most impacted by the second story addition. And they stated no objections to the second story in terms of the view. However, they did have concerns in regard to privacy, specifically regarding the inclusion of a proposed deck. A 40 square foot deck facing east is proposed to be located on the second story and accessed via a bedroom. At the nearest point, the deck would be approximately 23 feet 10 inches from the rear property line and approximately 23 feet from the shared, or from the neighbor's property, excuse me. In staff's opinion, the modest size of the deck and significant setback between the proposed deck and the neighbor's patio create or negate any privacy impacts by design. But since the publication of the staff report, staff has been informed of conversations between the applicant and the adjacent property owner regarding the inclusion of additional screening for the deck. Staff is not opposed to additional screening for the deck. However, a formal proposal has not been presented to staff at this time, so staff's unable to comment on the specifics. If the commission feels any design changes are warranted, direction should be provided in the motion accordingly. In regard to the neighbors to the north and south, the southern second story element maintains a total of 3 bedroom windows and a series of bathroom windows. It is not anticipated these windows will create any privacy impacts to the neighbors to the south due to the substantial second story setback. The northern elevation is proposed to maintain a total of 4 bedroom windows and 1 window located at the stairway. A tree on the neighbor's property is located between a second story window on the neighbor's property and the proposed stairway window, and provides screening between the 2 windows. Additionally, as the stairway is only used as a circulation element, it is not anticipated the window would create any significant privacy impacts. The remaining bedroom windows are located in pairs on either side of the stairway window and are set back further by offsets in the wall plane. The bedroom windows do not align with the window across from the stairway window, and the tree provides additional screening. In staff's opinion, the location of these proposed windows do not pose any significant privacy impacts. The applicant has utilized recommendations provided in the residential design guidelines to reduce the mass of the structure, such as using a detached garage to reduce the mass of the residence, as well as locating the primary mass of the residence away from the property lines, and has avoided the use of uninterrupted wall planes. Additionally, the applicant has proposed to construct the residence to a maximum height of 20 feet 8 inches for the 2-story element, where 24 feet are permitted, and a maximum of 15 feet 2 inches for the 1-story element, where 18 feet is permitted. By not building to the maximum allowable heights, the applicant has substantially decreased the potential volume for the residence. The building form is a basic rectangular shape and contains multiple variations in wall plane on the northern and southern elevations. These variations are not overly complicated nor busy and add architectural interest and relief to the residence on both the first and second floor, which is encouraged by the residential design guidelines. The roof of the residence is comprised of a combination of gabled roof forms with clear story window projections on the first floor, as well as shed roof elements. The primary gabled roof form is proposed to be pitched at 6 and 12 throughout, with the shed roof and clear story elements sloped at 3 and 12. And the entire roof will be finished with a standing seam metal roof, and additional details regarding the roof material will be provided at final details hearing. The applicant has proposed to construct a new detached garage located in the front setback. The garage is proposed to be set back 1 foot from the front property line. And as conditioned, the project will meet the standards required for permitting a garage in the front setback. So staff's recommendation is for the Planning Commission to adopt a resolution approving a concept design study for the demolition of an existing 1,114 square foot 1-story single-family residence and garage, and construction of a new 1,590 square foot 2-story single-family residence with a 210 square foot detached garage. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm able to answer any questions.
Do we have questions for Evan? I don't see anybody with their hand up. Okay, thank you, Evan. Well, Commissioner Lehman, do you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thank you, Evan. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here? Would they like to make a presentation to the Planning Commission?
Yes, this is Harlan Bradley, Masterwork Builders.
Go ahead, Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you for the presentation, Evan. That was very concise and clear. We're very proud to be presenting this project for the Blacks. David and Jeannie hired us to design a new home. We explored the idea of remodeling the existing residence, but believe that the new home makes the most sense. We've designed a simple structure, classic Carmel cottage with some modern updates. We have support from the local community, the neighbors. We did have one small issue arise with some privacy to the rear, but we're dedicated to resolve that with the neighbor. It's a very small privacy issue. I believe that with the final details, we'll be able to present something that we've all agreed upon. So I look forward to your feedback and answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bradley from the commissioners?
No, not me.
Okay, I don't see anybody with their hand up. Okay, is there anyone from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? I don't hear anybody. Don't see any hands up, so I will close the public comments and open it up to the commission for their comments. Commissioner Bolton, would you like to begin?
If you don't mind coming back to me.
Okay, not a problem. Commissioner Locke, would you like to make some comments this time?
Sure, since I punted the last one, sure. Well, I have a couple of, I guess, let me just, the one thing that I think I like the overall concept. I'm really sad to see such a cute Carmel cottage being demolished. And, you know, this is one of those that actually really looks cute from the road. It has great landscaping. So I'm really sorry to see that. And I would like to say that I think there's a lot going on in this project. You've got stone, you've got vertical, you've got horizontal, you've got metal. And I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not a big fan of mixing the horizontal, vertical. Also, I think some of the stonework may need to wrap around or and offhand, I'm not seeing what I saw earlier this week when I looked at my packet. But anyway, so those are just a couple of my thoughts. The long vertical south ridgeline also is kind of something to me. I think that either the pitch of the roof might be changed slightly so that it doesn't, it just seems like it's a very long stretch of ridgeline. And those are really all my questions, or all of my comments on this. I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's a nice house. There's a lot of windows, a lot of glass. And I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody else has to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Lehman?
Well, I was actually hoping to hear what Commissioner Bolton would say before. But I like what Commissioner Locke just brought up. The change from the vertical to the horizontal, or the horizontal to the vertical. I find a little bit that there's a little too much activity there, and I'm hoping that Harlan might reconsider that. Other than that, I think it's a nice house. It has a nice presence. The other thing that bothers me slightly is when I look at the front elevation that the garage is I don't know if you placed it there because, or if it was placed there to line up with the second story roof. But I find that it does something a little bit strange for me to the lower level, seeing just that strip of window when you look at the house straight on. So that is just something I'd like to be reconsidered. That maybe offsetting the roofs would make it a little bit more comfortable. So that's about it for right now for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lehman. Commissioner Dells, would you like to make some comments?
Yeah, I like the project. The concerns brought up by others, particularly about the horizontal and vertical intermixing. When I look at a black and white plan, I have the same feeling. So I'm just going to be more interested at final to understand what else is there, because there may be another whole level of richness and texture that I'm not seeing that might make all the sense in the world. And I can also imagine that I had the same, that this the north elevation has, it's a long elevation, and I can't really tell how much articulation is in there and what they're doing to break it up. So those would be things I would just want to understand going forward. Commissioner Lehman's point about the garage peak and the roof peak is interesting. Yeah, I lived in another community where we called these snout houses because they, put their nose on the street. I know that one of the tools that was used was to break up that symmetry a little bit to make it seem less so. So that just might be interesting. I don't know that I would make it a requirement, but yeah, it's almost too perfect, maybe. That's it. Good project. Like it a lot.
Thank you, Commissioner Dels. Commissioner Bolton, you're the last man standing.
Thank you. Well, as always, I think the staff did a good job on this project. I think it complies basically with our guidelines and with our rules and regulations. I'm not supportive of the stone bases around the house. Stone also has to wrap. There's a couple locations that look like stone does not wrap to the interior corners. I don't know, like Commissioner Dells and other people have commented about this horizontal and vertical siding yet. It's going to come down to color and some other things about the materials before I can make that kind of decision. I thought the symmetry comment was interesting because that's, I think, what was bugging me about these plans. Everything lines up. That's possibly fine, but it definitely on the black and white, just cold CAD drawings can kind of lead your eye. And I don't know that's going to be an actual problem in the construction of the house, but it does make you look at certain things like that garage lining up and also on the side elevation, the way the windows all line up. So my comments are more about the design, and I don't have a lot to say other than I don't like the way the stone bases work. That's my main concern about the visual of it, and I'd like to see colors. I don't know what the material of the roof, other than stainless steel metal, what's the color of that going to be also. So final materials going to be very important on this one for me. But generally, I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolton. this is concept, and finished materials will be in the final. But what I've heard here from the commissioners, and I'm in agreement with that, is that the applicant needs to simplify the presentation of the final materials. We're a little bit disadvantaged because we can't really see what those are. And I was looking at the resolution and the
Chair LePage, can I ask just a clarifying question?
Absolutely.
Just so I understand kind of everyone's sentiment. In regards to the garage and the cemetery, is it maybe it'll just come down to the direction and the resolution, but I kind of took it as a mixed feeling. Some commissioners liked it, some didn't. If it comes down to just moving the garage, we're kind of limited to how far north it can move because of the proximity to the tree. I'm kind of thinking out loud. If it goes further to the south, then it may block a lot of the primary elevation of the residence. I was just thinking out loud, and I wasn't too sure if there was direction regarding the change, or if it's just, again, thinking out loud. So I just wanted to share those comments because that's what popped into my head as I heard that discussion.
Thank you, Evan. I didn't hear a real clear direction on that. My own reaction to the design is that that's not really an issue. I think there's enough diversity in the second story with the shed roof that it doesn't, create some type of vertical tension between the ridge lines lining up on the two structures. But that's just my take on it. I didn't hear a real strong take on this from the other commissioners, but I will give them the opportunity to comment on this a little further. In fact, at this time, maybe we should do that to get some clarification. Commissioner Lehman, you brought this up. Do you want to speak a little bit more about this, clarify that?
Sure. In fact, I'm just looking at the floor plan on my computer or my other computer, and I'm sorry, I forgot how close it was to that 6-foot line on the tree on the north side. However, we've just approved something a few minutes ago where we're probably 3 foot from the base of the tree rather than so. But I'm wondering now, as I look at it further, if there's any possibility of moving the garage to the south, where, I see I can see that you wouldn't want to do that. So I don't want to design it for you, Harlan. You do a good job on your own. So I just, maybe there is a possibility that the garage isn't, that the two gables don't match, that there's a way to look at the roof of the garage. I know you don't want to eliminate the gable upstairs, but maybe there's a possibility of doing something different, or maybe nothing. I mean, I loved when Commissioner Dell said I wouldn't fall on my sword over that, and I probably wouldn't fall on my sword either over that. But I do think this, it does get a little bit busy with the horizontal and the vertical elements meeting. So I think that might be something to think about for next time.
Thank you, Commissioner Lehman. Did any other commissioners want to speak specifically about the garage? Commissioner Delps.
Yeah, I withdraw any objection. I think I'm going to choose the tree over the garage at this point. And let's not move it closer to the tree. I don't think it makes any sense to move it to the south. And just to say, we just asked another applicant to move that garage 3 feet back. I thought about that here, and my view is that on this particular block, it's just a very different situation. And that that block between 13th and Santa Lucia, you're beginning to go downhill quite a bit, and you really do notice that garage intruding really into the into the space, where this is a much more flat block, and it doesn't just hit you as being there, and I think it's appropriate to be located where it is.
Thank you, Commissioner Dills. Did any other commissioners have any further comments about the, specifically about the garage to give direction? Okay, I don't hear any. Why don't we look at the resolution? Recommendations, draft conditions. Number one is basically standard because of the tree location. Number two is a city forester. That again is regarding protecting trees. Number three is a tree planting requirement by the city forester. Number four is a limb removal requirement. It seemed to me the other draft recommendations were with things that needed to still be provided in final. We have the landscape plan, we have the lighting, we have the door and window schedule, fences and walls, building materials, and the roof sample. So is there any other items that we want to give strong direction to the applicant in the draft conditions? It seems like the garage is not really a strong recommendation. In fact, it's been withdrawn pretty much. The strongest thing I've heard is that there needs to be a simplification of the application of the finished materials. Is there any other direction that any of the commissioners would like to give the applicant that we could add as a draft condition?
No, thank you.
Okay, with that said, would one of the commissioners like to make a resolution, make a motion to accept the resolution with the draft conditions?
Yeah, let me try this. Be my first one. I move to approve a resolution as proposed by staff, accepting the concept design study for the demolition of an existing 1,114 square foot one-story single-family residence and garage, and construction of a new 1,590 square foot two-story single-family residence with a 210 square foot detached garage located on Camino Real 2 southeast of 11th, APN number 010-273-008. Does that work?
Yeah, and you are going to just make your resolution for your motion to accept the recommendations and draft conditions as stated.
Yes.
Or do you want to include the also draft condition that the applicant work to simplify the exterior material applications?
Personally, I'm open to an amendment, but I think that there's a condition in there, I think it was number 8, but about, they still have to come back with samples. So that's enough for me, but if somebody else.
All right. Okay. All right, that's your motion. So we have a motion to accept the resolution as presented by staff with the recommendations and draft conditions. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, can we have roll call, please?
Bolton?
Yes.
Commissioner Dills?
Yes.
Commissioner Lehman?
Yes.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, the motion is carried. Thank you. We will look forward to seeing you at final.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, that concludes the public hearings on our agenda tonight. Next item on our agenda is the director's report. Director Swanson, do you have some comments or you'd like to make to the commissioners?
I do, Chair LePage. Thank you. I have a few items I just wanted to share with the commissioners. Just as a heads up, we have some of our larger projects coming up in the not too distant future. You're all aware of them, but just to give you a heads up, they will be at the Planning Commission at some point in the next few months. The first one is Ulrika Plaza. Some people affectionately know it as the Pit. That'll be coming in April, May timeframe. Somewhere around there. JB Pastor, this is the one down 7th and Dolores. That'll be May, June, probably. And then the Carmel Resort Inn. I don't know when that's going to be to the Planning Commission, but they've gone now through the Forest and Beach Commission and received direction there. They're putting together a concept plan for the whole of the property, the hotel and the residential units. So it'll be a concept design. And that at some point will come through the Planning Commission for an initial review. So those are in the near to semi-distant future. Some big projects for us here in Carmel. So those will be ones to look out for. Just an update, just so you know, we have an outdoor seating ad hoc committee. This is considering and making recommendations to the full city council about what a potential future program would look like for permanent outdoor seating, something similar. Think of like Monterey, where they have the built-in outdoor seating on the streetscape. There's been 3 public meetings to date. It is a public meeting. And the reason I'm bringing it up because I want to try to encourage as many people from the public to join that meeting. It's open to restaurateurs and residents alike. It's not meant to be exclude anyone. It's really an information gathering group that ultimately will be making some sort of recommendation to the city council based on that feedback. The next thing we're doing is we're meeting on March 29th. Between now and then, we're working to draft a survey that will go out to everyone in the community, just getting us a general pulse on what people think about it. So that's something that we're working on. I wanted to let you all know that we've implemented a development review committee, which is something that I've done other places. It's a way early on in the process with an applicant to sit down for the larger projects, demo rebuilds, major remodels, large projects like the Pastor projects, sit down early on in the process with the applicant around the table, quote unquote, virtual table right now, but sit around the table with them and the other departments in the city, forestry, public works, building, and even pulling in fire, to give comments early on in the process, not only to inform them of potential roadblocks with the encroachments and trees and things like that, but also to early on discuss design and things like that, so we can help inform and guide early in the process, so that's not coming down right at the end, right before we get to a hearing, and they're having to deal with conditions of approval to take stuff out of their plans. The goal is to help an informed plan set and design early on in the process, so it's less time, less money on the back end. So we're going to start implementing that for the larger projects that we see coming through. And that'll be part of that sort of the initial planning review that we're doing. It's interesting, I had in my update for you all today, just to let you know that an ADU ordinance update is on my short list of things to do here at the city. Just before I left the county, I actually finished writing the ordinance for them to get in conformance with state law. So that's one of the things I want to do in short order here at the city, is get our ADU ordinance up to snuff and lined up with the state as well. So staff and I will be working on that together. Hopefully sometime in the next few months, we'll have something. And in my ideal situation would be to bring a draft through this planning commission for a workshop to consider land use ramifications, because I think that's really important to get the planning commissioners involved at some point in the ordinance drafting. I believe that's all I have right now. One just quick update as we move into the red tier with respect to the governor's orders. There will be a point in the not too distant future where the community planning and building office may be open partially to the public by appointment only, which means that that'll be sort of the starting of the transition of more public involvement. We may see that the tours of inspection become open and more open and more participation. So there may be more of a need for commissioners to participate in those. I'll certainly keep you all updated as we get there, but this is all, of course, contingent on people getting vaccinated and moving into the next tiers. But I think we're, over the next month or 2 or 3, going to see that happening. So I just wanted to put that bug in all the commissioners' ears that we might see some more need for actual in-person participation in the not too distant future. So just that's in the back of your head. And that's all I had for the group, unless there's any questions from any of the commissioners for me, Chair LePage.
Any questions for the director? I think we'll all be looking forward to more in-person interaction.
I had a thought, Brandon, on the ADUs as you're updating the ordinance. I guess I would also appreciate, some strategies for defense, if you will. As an example, like what tools can we have? And the state has probably told us what tools we can't have. That doesn't mean we can't make up new tools, right? And because this thing could get pretty bad.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I experienced that in the county as well, because the thing that's unique about a county is that you have a lot of rural places, and you're dealing with things like septic and wells, which have their own unique things when you're adding additional units and things like that. So there are things. The thing we have going for us in the city is we're completely within the coastal zone, and we have a local coastal program, an LCP. And so there are a few things in state law that the LCP trumps. So there are a few things when it comes to coastal resources and things like that. So those will be worked into our ordinance, and we'll certainly share those as part of the conversation with the Planning Commission as well.
Good. And to be clear, not that I have any objection to ADUs. It's just more the unintended consequences of this.
Yeah, need to do it smartly. I totally agree.
Thanks.
Brandon, as I was reading through, because of the ADU that appeared, and I realized what our limitation was, but as I was reading through the original AB and with the modifications, and I'm glad Commissioner Locke is here. We are in a shutdown order on withdrawing water from the Carmel River. And it very specifically says if there's a water or sewer issue, then we shouldn't be held to this. So I'd like that investigated a little bit more.
I can speak to that a little bit. I don't think we should go too far down the road, since ADUs weren't really an agendized item, but just at a really high level, the way that the state law was constructed was that it's effectively not a new connection. And Commissioner Locke can probably speak to this a lot more intelligently than I can, but essentially it's not a new meter. They're essentially connecting to an existing meter, so it's like building off of that, but it doesn't conflict, in my understanding anyway, with the cease and desist order, so it's not technically a new connection. And Commissioner Locke can correct me if I misspoke on any of that.
Yeah, this might be something we want to agendize for an actual discussion, because it isn't on the agenda. Mm-hmm. But yes, that is true. ADUs are sub-metered, so they are not subject to the moratorium, but they do require a water allocation. So somebody wants to put an ADU in, they have to have either enough water credit or Malpaso water to offset the fixtures that are going in.
In my understanding, all the Malpaso water is done.
They are done. Yes, they're done with their sales.
Well, I think we can have this agendized after the staff does their update of the ADU, and that'll be quite helpful. There's a lot of questions I heard tonight, and a lot of good subjects that need to be covered, and I'm sure that we'll have a good discussion about this, but we can focus that on the meeting when you have your work done.
Brandon, one more thing. Can we be notified of the time of the ad hoc committee, the restaurant group?
Certainly, yeah. I can add the commissioners to the distribution list. It's at 4:00 on March 29th. They have all been at 4:00 so far. It's not a noticed meeting. It's not a Brown Act meeting. So, but that's what it's been so far. It's just an ad hoc committee, but they are open to the public, and we send out a link and a phone number so everyone can participate via Google Meeting. And it usually goes out that Thursday or Friday beforehand.
Great.
So you'll include the planning commissioners in that link?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything else? All right, it's a very good meeting. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.